The rain hammered against the window like it was trying to break in, but it was the creak of the door that jolted me awake. Slow, deliberate, like someone testing if the hinges still remembered silence. I sat up in bed, heart slamming against my ribs, and there he was, Ethan, my stepbrother, dripping wet from the storm, his shadow swallowing the sliver of hallway light behind him. "Alex," he whispered, voice cracking like thunder. "I can't pretend anymore. I love you, and it's killing me." I froze, the sheets tangled around my legs like chains, my mind reeling from the ghost of a family dinner 6 months ago where our parents had beamed at us over turkey and pie, oblivious to the way his knee had brushed mine under the table, sending sparks I'd buried deep. Ethan, tall, broad-shouldered, with that easy grin that made everyone in our sleepy Ohio suburb think he was the golden boy, had always been the one I measured myself against, the brother I never asked for but couldn't shake. Now, here in my cramped NYU dorm, the air thick with the scent of wet leather and regret, he stepped closer, his eyes locking onto mine with a desperation that mirrored the ache I'd hidden since we were teens. "What the hell are you doing here?" I managed, my voice a rasp, scrambling for my phone on the nightstand. 2:17 a.m., the screen glowing like an accusation. "He'd driven from Cleveland," he said later, "for hours through the downpour. No call, no text, just the pull of something unspoken that had simmered between us for years. Our parents' marriage when we were 15 had thrown us together like mismatched puzzle pieces. Me, the quiet artist sketching forbidden glances in my notebook. Him, the quarterback charming crowds while stealing moments in the garage, our hands brushing over engine parts, breaths sinking in the dim light. But we'd never crossed that line, not really. A hug that lingered too long at graduation. A shared beer on the porch where his laugh vibrated through me like a promise. Lies we told ourselves to keep the peace. He collapsed onto the edge of my bed, water pooling on the worn hardwood, his flannel shirt clinging to his chest in a way that made my throat dry. "Mom and Dad are fighting again," he said, running a hand through his soaked hair, droplets tracing paths down his jaw. "About money, about us moving out, about everything. But that's not why I'm here." His gaze dropped to his boots, scuffed from years of fieldwork at the family garage, and when he looked up, it was like seeing the boy I'd known stripped bare. "Alex, every time I close my eyes, it's you. Not some girl from the bar, not the life they want for me. You." The words hung there, heavier than the storm outside, and I felt the world tilt. I dated guys in secret, quick coffees in Brooklyn cafes, hands held under tables at indie films, but none of them stuck because they weren't him. Ethan, with his calloused hands and quiet faith in second chances. The one who'd covered for me when Dad found my sketchbook filled with portraits of boys who looked suspiciously like him. "This is insane," I whispered, but I didn't move away when he reached for my hand, his fingers rough and warm, interlacing with mine like they'd always belonged. We sat like that as the rain eased to a drizzle, the city's hum filtering in, honks from Washington Square, distant laughter from late-night wanderers, and for the first time, the silence between us wasn't a wall. It was a bridge. By dawn, he told me everything. The pressure from our stepdad to join the family business full-time, the girlfriend, Sarah, sweet but safe, he'd been seeing to keep up appearances, the nights he'd driven aimlessly past my old high school, wondering if I'd changed. I confessed too. The fear of coming out in a town where faggot was still whispered behind bleachers. The way art school was my escape but left me lonelier than ever. We talked until the sky blushed pink over the East River. His head on my shoulder, my arm around him, the dorm's radiator clanking like a heartbeat. It felt like absolution, like the universe had finally exhaled. But morning brought the crash. My roommate, Jake, burst in at 8 a.m., backpack slung over one shoulder, eyes widening at the sight of Ethan sprawled on my floor in a borrowed hoodie, snoring softly. "Dude, who's the lumberjack?" Jake teased, but his grin faltered when Ethan stirred, mumbling my name in his sleep. I played it off, old friend crashing after a bender. But the seed of unease planted itself. Ethan left that afternoon, promising to call, his truck rumbling away down Broadway like a retreating thundercloud. "This isn't over," he said at the door, pulling me into a hug that pressed our hearts together. his lips brushing my temple in a ghost of a kiss. It wasn't. Texts flew like sparks. Late-night confessions, photos of sunsets over Lake Erie that he captioned, "Wish you were here." He broke things off with Sarah over coffee, telling her the truth in halting words that left her in tears but him lighter, freer. I sketched him obsessively, charcoal smudges of his profile against autumn leaves, the curve of his smile when he thought no one was watching. By Thanksgiving, he was back in the city, this time with tickets to a Broadway show, his hand in mine as we navigated the crowds, fingers laced without apology. Our first real kiss happened in Central Park, under a canopy of bare branches, snow flurries dusting his lashes like stars. It was soft, tentative, then fierce, years of what-ifs pouring out in the salt of his mouth, the chill of his cheeks warming under my palms. Bliss, though, is a fragile thing in a world that doesn't bend easy. Christmas loomed, and with it, the family dinner in Ohio, the one where Mom would fuss over the ham and Dad would grill Ethan about settling down. We drove back together, the highway unspooling like a taut wire, his free hand on my thigh the whole way, a silent anchor. But as we pulled into the driveway, lights twinkling from the eaves, reality bit. "Act normal," he murmured, squeezing my knee. But normal was a lie we couldn't sell forever. Dinner started fine, laughter over mashed potatoes, stories of my latest sculpture class, Ethan's tales from the garage. But midway through pie, Dad cleared his throat, that gruff edge sharpening. "Heard you dumped Sarah, son. What's that about?" "She was good stock." Ethan stiffened beside me, fork pausing midair. "It wasn't right, Dad. I'm seeing someone else." The table went quiet, Mom's eyes flicking between us like she sensed the undercurrent. I held my breath, heart pounding, waiting for the bomb. It dropped when Ethan's phone buzzed. A text from Jake, my roommate, forwarded from some group chat. A blurry photo of us in the park, lips locked, time-stamped weeks ago. "Who the hell is that?" Dad barked, snatching the phone, his face purpling as the image loaded. Mom gasped, hand to her mouth, and just like that, the air sucked out of the room. Ethan stood, chair scraping. "It's Alex. Me and Alex." The words landed like a grenade, shrapnel of shock ripping through the facade. Dad's bellow echoed off the walls. "You're my son, his brother. This is sick." And Mom dissolved into sobs, whispering prayers like they could exorcise the truth. Ethan grabbed my arm, pulling me toward the door, but I yanked back, the weight of their stares pinning me. "We're family?" I choked out, tears hot on my cheeks. "Doesn't that mean anything?" But Dad's glare was steel. "Not like this. Get out. Both of you." We fled into the night, snow swirling like confetti from a ruined party, piling into the truck with nothing but our coats and the clothes on our backs. Ethan drove in silence, knuckles white on the wheel, until we hit the interstate, Cleveland's lights fading in the rearview. "I'm sorry," he said finally, voice breaking, pulling over at a rest stop bathed in sodium glow. We sat there, engines ticking cool, and he pulled me across the console, holding me as if I might shatter. "They'll come around. They have to." But they didn't. Days blurred into a week of voicemails. Mom's pleading tones, Dad's curt silences. Then nothing. Radio silence from home, like we'd been erased. Back in the city, we crashed at my dorm, Ethan sleeping on the futon, his presence a comfort and a cage. Jake was cool about it, high-fived Ethan over beers, called us the bromance upgrade. But the whispers started in the halls, sideways glances from profs who'd seen the family drama leak online via some cousin's Facebook rant. The fracture widened like a fault line under pressure. Ethan threw himself into job hunting. Auto shops in Queens, anything to anchor us. But rejection emails piled up, each one an echo of Dad's disapproval. "You're better than this?" I'd say, sketching late into the night, my hands black with graphite, trying to capture the fire in his eyes that hadn't dimmed. We made love. Not the frantic kind, but slow, reverent, bodies mapping each other in the dim light of string bulbs, whispers of "I've got you" against skin. It was our rebellion, our sanctuary. but even that couldn't drown the growing storm. One February evening, as sleet lashed the windows, Ethan's phone lit up with a number we both knew. Sarah. He stared at it, thumb hovering, then answered on speaker, voice steady. "What do you want?" Her reply was a sob. "Your dad called me. Said you're confused. That you need help. Ethan, come home. We can fix this." The word confused sliced through me like glass, and I saw it land on him too, his jaw tightening. "I'm not confused, Sarah. I love Alex. That's the truth." He hung up, but the damage lingered, a poison seeping in. That night, he tossed in his sleep, murmuring apologies to ghosts. Spring thawed the city, but not us. I landed a spot in a group show at a Soho gallery. My sculptures, twisted metal hearts entwined with wire thorns, born from our chaos. And Ethan was there, front row, clapping loudest when the curator name-dropped raw emotion. Pride swelled in my chest, but later, over cheap tie on St. Mark's, he dropped the bomb. "I got an offer. In Detroit. Big shop, steady pay. We could start fresh, no family baggage." Detroit. A world away from New York's pulse, from the life I'd clawed for. "What about us?" I asked, fork stabbing noodles. His eyes softened, hand covering mine. "You'd come with me, build something real." But the we felt fragile, stretched thin over unspoken fears. What if the distance broke us? What if I held him back from the normalcy he craved deep down? The betrayal came swift, a knife in the ribs I never saw coming. Mid-March, I came back from a critique session to find the dorm empty. Ethan's duffel half-packed on the futon. A note. "Had to clear my head. Back soon. Love you." Panic clawed my throat. Visions of him driving back to Ohio, Sarah's arms open, Dad's forgiveness on offer. I paced for hours, texts unread, until Jake banged on the door with coffee and bad news. "Dude, check this." He shoved his phone at me. A grainy Insta story from a Cleveland bar, Ethan arm in arm with Sarah, her head on his shoulder, caption, "Reunited and it feels so good." The world grayed at the edges. I drove to Jersey that night, borrowing Jake's beat-up Civic, the turnpike a blur of taillights and tears. By dawn, I was at the family house, pounding on the door until Mom answered, robe clutched tight, face crumpling at the sight of me. "Alex, oh God." Inside, Dad sat at the kitchen table, coffee mug steaming, looking older, wearier. Ethan wasn't there, hadn't been. The story spilled. Sarah had shown up at the garage, tears and tales of my influence. Dad pulling strings for that Detroit job as a lifeline. But Ethan? He'd bolted after the call. Phone dead. Truck missing. Guilt twisted in my gut. They hadn't known about us until that photo. Hadn't grasped the depth until Ethan's confession shattered the illusion. Mom hugged me then, fierce and trembling. "I love you both, no matter what." We were scared. Foolish. Dad grunted, eyes averted, but muttered, "Should have talked it out." It was a start, fragile as spring ice, but real. We waited together, the house heavy with unsaid sorries, until Ethan's truck crunched gravel at noon. He looked wrecked, stubble shadowing his jaw, eyes red-rimmed, climbing the porch steps like a man facing execution. "I didn't," he started, but I crossed the yard in 3 strides, fist connecting with his chest. Not hard, just enough to feel the thud of his heart. "You left. With her." His face crumpled. "I went to tell her it's over for good." Dad ambushed me, yelling about legacy, about fixing the family. Panicked. "Alex." Drove around all night, thinking I'd ruin you too. We fought there on the lawn, words like weapons. Me accusing him of cowardice. Him hurling back my stubborn pride, until Mom herded us inside, tea steaming on the table like a truce flag. Dad spoke first, voice gravel. "I was wrong. Raised you boys to be strong, not hide." It wasn't poetry, but it was him, and Ethan's shoulders sagged, tears tracking clean paths through the dust on his cheeks. We talked, really talked, for the first time, layers peeling back. Dad's own buried regrets from a youth spent conforming, Mom's quiet support for the church's Love is Love whispers. By dusk, the air lightened, hugs exchanged like bandages over old wounds. Ethan and I drove back to New York that night, hands clasped over the gearshift, the highway now a ribbon of possibility. No more running, he vowed, thumb tracing my knuckles. But the scare had scarred us, a reminder that love wasn't a straight path. It zigzagged through betrayals big and small. Summer bloomed fierce, the city a steam bath of promise. Ethan deferred Detroit, took a temp gig at a Brooklyn body shop, grease under his nails a badge of our gritty romance. We sublet a walk-up in Williamsburg, creaky floors, fire escape views of the bridge, turning it into hours with thrift store art and his toolbox spilling over the kitchen table. Mornings were coffee and croissants from the corner bodega, his lips tasting of sugar as he kissed me goodbye. Evenings, tangled on the couch watching old Scorsese flicks, his laugh rumbling through me like bass. Yet the undercurrent pulled, family check-ins tentative, Sarah's occasional texts to Ethan ghosts in his deleted folder. And me? The gallery show led to a residency offer in LA, 6 months of sun-soaked studios, a chance to explode my career. Go! Ethan urged over rooftop beers, Manhattan skyline glittering like approval. I'll hold down the fort. We're solid. But solid cracked under distance. Letters, actual ones, penned in my looping script, flew west, his blocky replies thick with longing. Calls crackled with static, his voice tinny. Miss your sketches on the fridge. Then, the call that gutted me. August heatwave? Phone buzzing at 3 a.m. Alex? It's Mom. Ethan's in the hospital. Accident at the shop. Forklift tipped. The flight was a nightmare. Red ice and layovers, my mind conjuring worsts. Him broken, gone. The what-if's a chorus of regret. I landed in Cleveland to Dad's pickup at baggage claim, his hug bone-crushing. He's okay, concussion, broken ribs. Asking for you. The drive to the hospital blurred. Rain sheeting the windshield like tears held back. Ethan lay pale against starched sheets, bruises blooming purple on his torso. But his eyes lit when I burst in, gripping his hand like a lifeline. You came, he breathed, wincing as he shifted. Of course, I choked, collapsing into the chair, head on his bed rail. Mom hovered, squeezing my shoulder. Dad lingered in the door, nodding gruff approval. We stayed like that, family fractured but mending, through the beeps of monitors and the scent of antiseptic hope. Recovery was slow, Ethan sidelined for weeks, us bunking at the house in a weird, healing limbo. I sketched him healing, pencil strokes soft on his mending form, while he tinkered with model cars on the porch, Dad joining in with stories of his own shop mishaps. One night, stars pricking the Ohio sky, Ethan pulled me to the old swing set, chains creaking under our weight. L.A.? He asked, voice low. I can't without you, but if it's your dream. It's ours, I said, and meant it. I turned down the residency, bartered for a local adjunct gig instead. Teaching figure drawing at NYU, close enough to nurture without uprooting. Ethan healed, took over the garage with Dad's blessing, infusing it with eco-upgrades that drew city kids for apprenticeships. Fall painted the leaves gold, and with it, our recommitment. No rings. Not yet, but a quiet ceremony on the Williamsburg Bridge at sunset. Just us, vows whispered against the hum of traffic. Through betrayals and breaks, I choose you. The city embraced us, rainbows unfurling in parades, friends toasting at dive bars. Family visits warmed. Mom's pies, Dad's backslaps. Proving love's reach extended, humanistic in its mess. But climax brewed in winter's chill. Christmas Eve, snow blanketing the city, Ethan proposed. Not on bended knee, but mid-laugh over eggnog, slipping a simple band onto my finger from his pocket. Marry me, Alex. Make this forever. Joy surged, but dawn brought the twist. A letter from Sarah, forwarded by Mom. Not venom, but vulnerability. I knew deep down, but I'm struggling. Can we talk? For closure. Ethan's face shadowed. One coffee, then done. I nodded, trust a muscle flexed anew. But jealousy gnawed as he left for Ohio. Hours stretched. My texts pinged unanswered. By nightfall, panic clawed visions of old patterns, her tears pulling him back. I paced our apartment, the ring heavy on my finger, until the door flew open. Ethan drenched not from snow but sweat, eyes wild. "She told me everything," he gasped, collapsing against me. "Sarah's gay too, hid it for years, used me as cover. Dad knew, pushed it to fix us both." The revelation hit like a revelation, layers of family secrets unraveling. Sarah had confessed to him over coffee, tears flowing, then hugged him goodbye as a friend reclaimed. "She's coming out. To them. Tonight." We drove through the blizzard, hearts pounding, arriving at the house to chaos. Raised voices, mom's sobs, dad's roar. Sarah stood in the living room, chin high, flanked by her sister. "I'm gay, Uncle Tom. Always was." The room stilled. Dad deflated, sinking to the couch, whispering, "My girl." Then Ethan stepped forward, arm around me. "And so am I. We both are. Love us anyway." Silence stretched, taut as wire, then broke. Mom's arms enveloping Sarah. Dad's hand extended to Ethan, rough palm meeting rough. "Family's family," he rumbled, and in that absolution, we stayed through the night, stories spilling like wine. Hidden pains, unspoken supports, forging bonds anew. Dawn crept in, pale light gilding the Christmas tree, and as we gathered around the table, mismatched now with Sarah's laughter mingling ours, the weight lifted, leaving space for grace. Ethan's hand found mine under the table, an anchor in the swell of emotion, and I realized, this was the humanism we'd chased. Not perfection, but persistence, love's quiet revolution against the world's rough edges. Back in the city, the new year unfolded like a canvas wiped clean. Ethan's garage thrived, sponsoring a youth program for queer kids eyeing trades, his testimonials glowing with pride. I taught, sculpted. My next series, Entwined Faults, metal forms twisting then merging, sold out at a Chelsea opening where Ethan stood beaming, suit jacket slung over his shoulder like a cape. Friends multiplied. Jake officiating our impromptu courthouse wedding in April, cherry blossoms raining petals on the steps. A backyard barbecue in summer where Sarah flew in, her new girlfriend's hand in hers, toasts clinking to second comings. Yet drama lingered, a shadow for depth. May brought Dad's heart scare. A mild attack at the shop, sirens wailing as Ethan raced him to the ER. I held Ethan's hand in the waiting room, his fear a mirror to mine from the forklift night, whispering, "He's tough. Like you." Recovery bonded them deeper. Weekly calls, Dad admitting over poker. "I was scared of losing you boys to a world that chews up different." It was therapy without the couch, raw and American, pieced from truck stops and truth. Our first anniversary hit in the fall, a rainy October echoing that faded night. Ethan surprised me with a road trip, upstate to the Catskills, cabin tucked in fog-shrouded pines, no cell service, just us. We hiked trails slick with leaves, his arms steady on my waist at overlooks, the Hudson Valley sprawling like a promise kept. Evenings by the fire, he read my old sketches aloud, voice husky with wonder. "You saw me before I did." That night, under quilts heavy with history, we made plans, not grand but grounded. Adopting a rescue mutt named Scout, saving for a fixer-upper in Jersey, maybe kids someday through surrogacy, a family of our choosing. But betrayal's echo tested us once more, subtle as frost. November, a client at Ethan's shop, slick Manhattan exec named Ryan, started lingering, compliments laced with intent, texts popping up for quotes that veered personal. I saw one by accident, over his shoulder at breakfast. "Miss our chats. Dinner." Jealousy flared, old wounds reopening. Was this payback for Sarah's ghost? I confronted him that night, voice sharp in our kitchen. "Am I not enough? After everything." Ethan's face fell, phone thrust into my hands. "Read it all. Nothing hidden." The thread was one-sided. Ryan's advances rebuffed politely, Ethan's replies firm, happily taken. He pulled me close then, forehead to mine. "You're my everything, Alex. Don't let fear rewrite us." We talked till midnight, vulnerabilities bared. His terror of inadequacy from Dad's legacy, my artist's doubt instability. It ended in laughter, Scout's tail thumping approval, a reminder that trust was daily work, not a given. Winter deepened, holidays harmonious now. Thanksgiving at Mom's with Sarah's crew. Dad carving turkey with jokes about expanding the garage for all these artists. Christmas mirrored last year's thaw, gifts wrapped in forgiveness. A leather-bound sketchbook from Ethan etched our story, his eyes lighting as I unveiled a sculpture of intertwined wrenches, symbol of his hands in mine. Climax crested in February, Valentine's snowstorm trapping us in the city. Power flickered at a queer-lit reading downtown, candles guttering as poets spilled hearts on stage. Ethan dragged me up for an impromptu piece. Our story in verse, halting rhymes of dorm doors and detours, drawing whoops and snaps from the crowd. But outside, as we bundled against the gale, a figure emerged from the shadows. Dad, coat dusted white, hands shoved in pockets. "Heard you were reading." Drove down. His gruff admission, first time admitting pride in our poetic nonsense. Melted the ice, hugs fierce in the flurry. Spring unfurled, renewal in every bud. We closed on the Jersey house. Victorian charmer with a studio shed and garage bay. Moving in amid paint-splattered chaos, Ethan's tools mingling with my clays. Neighbors waved rainbow flags, the block a tapestry of stories like ours. Sarah visited, her wedding invites scented with lavender, toasting to late bloomers. Yet the narrative's tension peaked in June, Pride Month blaze. Ethan's youth program hosted a float in the parade, kids waving banners of "Fix Your Heart First." And as we marched, hands linked, confetti raining, a heckler's slur cut through the roar. Ethan faltered, grip tightening, but I turned, meeting the man's eyes. "Hate's heavy, man. Try love. It's lighter." The crowd cheered, the moment viral by nightfall. Not for drama but defiance. A humanistic ripple in the digital tide. Summer solstice brought quiet joy. Backyard fire pit. Scout at our feet. Stars wheeling overhead. Ethan traced the ring on my finger. Voice soft. "1 year down. Think we've shaken enough?" I laughed, pulling him close. "Never. But we're unbreakable now." As leaves turned again, I reflected on the arc. From that rain-lashed intrusion to this rooted life. Betrayals had forged us. Conflicts clarified. Emotions the mortar holding the humane whole. Our story wasn't fairy tale. It was American grit. Flawed, fierce, forward. October's chill nipped at our heels, but warmth bloomed within. The house settled around us like an old friend. Creaks familiar, sense of sawdust and clay blending into home. Ethan's program expanded, grants pouring in for scholarships, his pride evident in the way he'd come home late. Eyes alight with tales of a shy teen wrenching his first engine. "Like me at 15, he'd say, kissing my temple. But with better tools and you." My adjunct role evolved into a tenure-track whisper. Classes filling with eager faces sketching vulnerabilities on canvas. One evening, a student lingered, wide-eyed queer kid named Theo, portfolio brimming with raw longing. "How do you draw what scares you?" he asked, and I thought of Ethan's silhouette in my dorm door, the hook that reeled me in. "You just do. The fear's the fuel." Thanksgiving gathered us fuller. Sarah's wife, Lena, adding sharp wit to the table. Dad's stories loosening with a second beer, admitting he joined a PFLAG chapter. "For the grandkids we'll have someday." Mom beamed, passing yams, her quiet activism in bake sales for local shelters a testament to growth. Ethan caught my eye across the chaos, toes nudging mine under the cloth. A Morse code of gratitude. December danced in with lights and lists. We adopted a second rescue, sister to Scout, a wiry terrier named Harper, her yips echoing our early days' uncertainties. Holiday cards went out first as a couple. Photo of us on the fire escape, arms looped, skyline hazy behind. Responses trickled, cousins' cheers, and aunt's hesitant love wins. But one envelope chilled. From Ethan's old high school coach, words laced with concern over lifestyle choices. Ethan read it aloud, voice steady, then burned it in the sink, ashes swirling down the drain. "Their loss," he said, pulling me to bed, where we drowned doubt in whispers and warmth. New Year's found us on the roof, champagne fizzing under midnight fireworks. Resolutions simple. More travels, deeper roots. January thawed into collaborations. Ethan sponsoring my next exhibit, wrenches forged into abstract lovers, his logo etched discreet. Opening night buzzed, collectors murmuring visceral. Ethan in the corner nursing a club soda, his nod the only acclaim I craved. But February's frost brought friction. A client dispute at the shop escalating to threats. Ethan's temper flaring in a way I hadn't seen since Ohio blow-ups. He came home slamming doors, pacing the kitchen like a caged wolf. "They think I'm soft because of us," he growled, fists clenched. I stepped in, hands on his chest, feeling the rapid thud beneath. "You're steel. Show them." We de-escalated together. Lawyer calls, mediation, emerging tighter, his vulnerability a gift. "You ground me, Alex. Always have." Spring equinox aligned with renewal. Dad's retirement party at the garage. Balloons bobbing amid oil stains. Speeches toasting his legacy. Ethan emceed, voice cracking on "the man who taught me to fix what's broken," including himself. Hugs lingered, Dad pulling me aside. "Proud of you, son. Both my boys." Tears pricked. Progress wasn't linear, but it propelled. April showers birthed May flowers and milestones. Our second anniversary, celebrated with a weekend in the Finger Lakes, wineries rolling like verdant waves. We kayaked Dawn Waters, his paddle sinking with mine, then picnicked on plaid blankets, feeding each other grapes tart with promise. "Kids?" he mused, hand on my knee. "Surrogacy. Fostering, whatever fits." The dream solidified, paperwork started, a future sketched in possibility. Yet summer's heat wave simmered tensions anew. A news cycle erupted. Anti-LGBT bills snaking through states. Headlines screaming division. Ethan withdrew, scrolling feeds late, jaw set. What if it touches us? The program, the house. I curated calm. Protests marched, letters penned, but privately, fear gnawed. One sweltering night, storm breaking overhead, he shattered, sobbing in my arms. "I won't lose this. Us." We weathered it, volunteering at a youth center, his wrenching demos laced with "BU, tools'll follow." The act healed, humanism in action. Fall foliage framed harvest joys. Apple picking upstate, baskets brimming, laughter echoing as we dodged bees. Homecomings meant stews simmering, Scout and Harper underfoot. Ethan's stories of shop antics blending with my class anecdotes. Halloween dressed us as icons. Him as a grease monkey cap, me as indie artist Warhol. Tricking neighbors with cider and candor. November's gray skies mirrored introspection. Jake visited, now engaged to his barista beau, crashing our couch with tales of wedding woes. "You two set the bar," he toasted, and we clinked, reminiscing dorm days. The hook, the havoc, the haven we'd built. December capped the year with carols and closures. Christmas at the Jersey house, extended kin converging. Sarah's clan, Mom's choir friends. Tree aglow with ornaments from our arcs. A tiny truck for Ethan's drive, a sketchpad bauble for mine. Gifts unwrapped hearts. Dad's leather jacket, patched from shop scraps. Mom's quilt, stitches of stories. Eve's fire crackled as Ethan knelt, not proposing again, but vowing, "Every year, I choose this. You." New Year's dawned crisp, resolutions rooted. Foster certification pursued. A nursery corner painted neutral hope. January's blank slate invited boldness. Ethan pitching a podcast on queer trades. Me guesting with Art of Repair. Episodes dropped. Listeners tuning in for grit over gloss. Our voices intertwining like lives. February's love-laced Valentines with legacy. A surrogacy match found. Profiles exchanged. Dreams inching real. Dad's health check glowed green. His PFLAG talks drawing crowds. Old dog, new tricks. We visited, grilling burgers on the deck. his wink over grandpa jokes warming the chill. Spring's symphony swelled, classes culminating in student shows, Ethan's program graduating its first class, caps tossed amid cheers. Pride planning buzzed early, our float evolving to mend and march, tools and canvases fused. Climax whispered in May, the surrogacy call, pregnancy confirmed, a due date in winter. Joy exploded, calls cascading, tears of terror and triumph. Our family? Ethan breathed, hand on my still flat belly in imagination, the news a pinnacle amid peaks. Yet conflict crested subtle. A donor dispute, legal snarls threatening delay. Sleepless nights debated, fight or fold. We chose battle, lawyers looped, community rallied, petitions signed, funds crowdfunded. Victory came narrow, papers stamped, but the scare underscored fragility, love's labor unyielding. Summer solstice toasted survival. Backyard bash, lanterns swaying, toasts to the build ahead. Fall's palette painted patience. Ultrasound's grainy miracles, kicks fluttering like butterflies. As winter loomed, snow dusting the nursery, I pondered our odyssey. From that seismic entry to this expectant peace. Betrayals bridged, emotions etched, romance resilient. Humanistic to the core. Not flawless, but full. A gay American epic, hooks and heartbeats eternal. The baby arrived on a January gale, winds howling like welcoming winds. Labor stretched through dawn, Ethan's hand vice-tight in mine. His whispers, "You're a warrior," anchoring the storm. At 7:42 a.m., she entered wailing, tiny fists flailing, named Riley, after the Irish for valiant, fitting our saga. Wrapped in her arms, Ethan's eyes shimmered. She's perfect, like her dad's. Hospital rooms filled fast. Mom cooing lullabies, Dad's gruff. "She's got your chin." Alex, Sarah snapping Polaroids, the circle complete. Early months blurred in bliss and bewilderment. Diapers daisy-chained, nights nursed in rocking chairs, Ethan's baritone ballads lulling her to sleep. The shop adapted, Granddad shifts from Dad. My studio paused, but inspiration surged in her gurgles, sketches of chubby cheeks framing our walls. Community cocooned. Playgroups at the center, where queer parents swapped war stories over coffee. Spring rebounded with rhythm. Riley's first smile mirroring Ethan's, her coos echoing our confessions. We resumed routines, him wrenching with baby Bjorn-bound passenger, me lecturing with her photo as screensaver. Pride that June featured her in a onesie banner, future fixer. Parade goers cooing. Our family flowed a flotilla of hope. Yet drama danced in July's heat. A custody scare, bureaucratic red tape questioning, non-traditional setups. Hearings loomed, stress etching lines on Ethan's brow. "They can't take her," he vowed, pacing nurseries. We lawyered up, testimonies poured. Neighbors vouching normalcy, family affirming fortitude. Judge's gavel fell favorable, love's the law here. But the ordeal scarred, reinforcing vigilance in a world still wary. Fall fortified us. Riley's first steps tottering toward Ethan's toolbox, her giggles at my clay-smeared nose. Holidays haloed. Thanksgiving feasts with high chairs, Christmas mornings of crinkled paper and awestruck eyes. New Year's nudged too, toddler tantrums testing tempers, but triumphs tempered. Her first words, "Dada," twinning our titles, park picnics painting lazy Sundays. Ethan's podcast peaked. Episodes on parenting the patchwork. Downloads soaring. February's frost-framed anniversaries. 3 years wed. Riley's cake-smeared face the candle. Dad's tales turn to her. Spoil her rotten, like you boys. Mom's visits baked wisdom, quilts for cribs. Spring's bloom brought boldness. A book deal for me, drawn together. A stepbrother sketch, anonymized but autobiographical. Hooks hinting our havoc. Ethan-proof chapters, laughs and lumps in throat shared. Climax crested in May. Launch party at the gallery. Riley toddling amid admirers. Ethan toasting to the muse who entered unannounced. But postscript shadowed. A call from coach's kin. Apology laced with regret. He was wrong. Inspired by your words. Closure clicked, betrayals buried. Summer's sun-gilded growth. Family road trip to Ohio. Riley charming the garage ghosts. Dad's retirement full. Fall's hues harvested harvest. Riley's preschool enrollment. Our nest feathering further. Winter wrapped year 3. Snowman in the yard. Riley's mittened hands in ours. Reflecting by firelight, Ethan murmured. From that dorm door to this, shook, but steady. I nodded. Riley's head on my lap, heart full. Our tale, dramatic denouement in domestic divinity. Years layered like varnish on wood. Riley's curls wild as her spirit. School plays where she hammed Hamlets to be. Ethan's shop a hub for community fixes. Betrayals, faded footnotes, conflicts catalysts for compassion. Romance, rekindled in stolen glances over bedtime stories. Hands held in PDA lines. At 10, Riley queried origins. How'd you meet? Our edited epic. A rainy night, a brave knock, and love that wouldn't quit. She beamed, like a movie, and it was our American Odyssey, gay and grand, humanistic hymn to holding on. Through teens' tempests, her crushes confided, our guidance gentle, we guided, grown. Weddings wove in, Jake's beach vow, Sarah's vineyard soiree. Grandkids glinted on horizons, Dad's eyes twinkling at payback. In twilight's grace, Ethan and I porch sat, swings creaking like that old set. Riley's laughter distant from her own home. Shook you good, didn't I? He grinned, hand in mine. Best shake ever? I replied, sealing our story. Not end, but ever after, etched in hearts unbreakable.